there's a few things to go over, a few things that I'm starting to connect dots on. This is a full moon. So again, we know that during full moons we do our releases. So we're going to write out what we want to release, and then burn it, give it to the universe. And the fact that it's in Scorpio is going particularly impactful, because Scorpio is, if you tarot, Scorpio is the death card, and death is representative of transformation and rebirth. So the end of something and the beginning of something else. So the fact that this full moon is in Scorpio, I think makes it incredibly impactful for releasing. There is another full moon this month at the end of May, which will be in Sagittarius. So that'll be a blue moon. So the fact that there's 2 full moons this month, again, adds to that. So the fact that we 2 full moons this month, and one being in Scorpio, which is about rebirth and transformation and death, it is especially any loose ends that we have that we can bring to completion. It's a good idea to let those things go at this time, and particularly things that we've been working on since the end of, if you think back to October to December, what themes have been recurring? These are the things that are going to be the ones that we need to work on. So, of course, it's going to be very personal to everybody, so something to think about. Hopefully, if some of these things that are coming into our awareness, if we can get rid of it, hopefully it lets us get rid of it once and for all, and can take us to that place of rebirth. So bring us to a place where we can actually move forward from, in a very different perspective, in a different, almost like a new persona. Again, Scorpio, rebirth. A little tidbit, I didn't know about this. So the Scorpio full moon is traditionally a sacred one that is said to thin the veil and deepen our intuitive insights. It aligns with the, and I have no idea if I'm saying this right, Wesak festival, which is celebrated in many Asian countries to honor birth, enlightenment, and the death of Buddha. So I found that was a little bit interesting, a nice little tidbit. And because Scorpio is linked to the cycles of death and rebirth, it reminds us that anything that falls away, anything that is lost, comes around new again. And Mother Nature mimics this too, right? So if you think, whether you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, this is the time of year where, things are coming back alive again. In the northern hemisphere, it's spring, everything is being reborn. And in the southern hemisphere, it's coming into winter, everything is dying off. We're going to sleep. So it's actually interesting how we have a relationship focus that's coming to fruition here with Venus and the asteroid Juno, both of which are activated in this full moon. So Venus activates it's guiding us to become of this energetic state. Very often we're challenged to look at how we are giving and receiving energy, and if we are upholding our values. Sometimes in relationships, we can lose ourselves and lose sight of our perspective and our pursuit of something greater. But this full moon will help us to draw things back and to reconsider how we are choosing to exert our heart energy. And remember that this can also be we give too much of ourselves to others as well. Something to think about. We have to remember to look after ourselves too. I think in a lot of cases we forget to put ourselves first. I know I'm very guilty of that, and I know probably everyone here is also very guilty of that. So Juno's presence also touches on our feelings of independence, especially if we've been lost in our relationships. Juno is the asteroid of marriage. I didn't know that. I found this out today. I thought it was kind of interesting. But she also holds the message of not losing ourselves in others. She's a loyal and devoted partner, but she also knows her own worth, and she stays true to her calling. And this is something we need to remember. So it may be necessary to set boundaries in our relationships, both at home and at work. This full moon is a good reminder also to nourish our mind, body, and soul. How do we fill up our own cup? We have to do that. Remember, so we got to put ourselves first sometimes, not just everybody else first. And we're all guilty of that. So it's kind of important to remember that. Ceres, she's the goddess asteroid of grain and harvest. She's on our side under this moon, and she sends waves of nourishment to help us make good choices for ourselves. And especially when it comes to the foods that we eat, the thoughts that we think, and the actions that we take. She will support us in making healthier lifestyle decisions. So use this as an opportunity to create a positive routine that supports our overall well-being. This full moon is particularly significant for people in the fixed signs. So Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So one of the other things that I've been noticing, so Scorpio's on this side, Taurus is on the other. They're the opposites, right? So Taurus teaches us to preserve what we've been creating. Taurus is the one that wants comfort. It's the one that doesn't like change. It's the one that likes things to kind of stay status quo. It does not do well with change. Scorpio, the opposite, the transformation and the rebirth. So it is challenging us to let go with grace. So these two opposites, I find it very interesting. But what I have noticed, and I think it's interesting when astrologers do their research and they say, oh, well, if we look for patterns and we look to see what happened at different times during this and that. And I think one of the things that came up recently was some of these placements haven't been seen since the Civil War in the States. And I think there was one before that, and I forget what the occasion was right now. It doesn't matter. I think I've been noticing bigger patterns. So lately, for the last 6 months or so, the thing that has been coming up often was the Virgo Pisces balance, and the focus being on Virgo and Pisces, how things were manifested and being affected by them. Virgo being the sign of health, and especially about physical health, Pisces about mental health. Opposites, same but opposite. And prior to that, it was the Capricorn Cancer polarity. That one came up a lot, I think, in the 6 months previous. So if you look at the Capricorn Cancer polarity, it's about your work life and your home life, and keeping that in check and keeping that balanced. I think what we're going to see now a lot of is this Scorpio and Taurus polarity. And I think this one is going to come up quite a bit in the next little bit, and I've done no research going forward. But knowing that all these planets were coming into the new degree of Aries, and how Aries was about the new beginnings and stuff, it almost kind of makes sense. And it's just kind of pushing us towards this transformation no matter what. There's going to be transformation whether we like it or not. And then the Taurus part is like, no, I don't want the change. Let's kind of keep things the way they are. We want to go to the tried and true, to what we know, to what we're comfortable with. But we are being forced and pushed into something different. And I think that's what we're going to see over the course of the next 6 months. Anyhow, with this full moon, avoidance becomes more difficult. Like I said, the transformation is coming whether we like it or not. And what we've been trying to sweep under the rug is likely to surface, asking for our immediate attention. Emotions are raw and visceral, and we're being asked to feel them without intellectualizing them, because Taurus wants to intellectualize it. It wants to put it in its little bucket and keep it where it's supposed to be. But Scorpio is going to force us to feel it. So the Taurus-Scorpio axis, it's about security, survival, and transformation, about both change and resistance to change. Money, sexuality, and values, as well as issues of ownership and energetic exchanges, are themes connected to Taurus and Scorpio that could require attention. This polarity is asking us to reflect on our relationship with stability and control, and on where we are being asked to let go, trust, and evolve. During Taurus season, of which we've already started, this full moon highlights the places where we might have gotten too comfortable and where transformation needs to occur. This is a time when uncomfortable truths may emerge, and we have an opportunity to gain new, deeper awareness of issues of trust, vulnerability, attachment, and power dynamics, and release something that has been suppressed or ignored. Now, the Pluto activation part here. So this full moon is squaring Pluto, which is Scorpio's ruler. And Pluto's in Aquarius. So named after the mythological lord of the underworld, Pluto is the catalyst of our transformational processes, associated with the unconscious layer of the psyche, profound wounds and attachments, and our soul's evolutionary intentions for this lifetime. Pluto's activation challenges us to confront the deeper layers of our emotional patterns and find out the true motives behind our instinctual automatic reactions. The square to Pluto brings the surface needs, desires, and fears we are not consciously aware of, but that unconsciously drive us. It invites us to take responsibility for how we react and be curious about why we are especially triggered by certain events and not others. We have an opportunity to recognize where we may be trying to control or subtly manipulate outcomes, to avoid vulnerability, to hide how we truly feel, and choose instead to engage with change and discomfort more consciously. And this is going to be the hard part with Taurus in there, right? This configuration could also unearth suppressed memories from our past and old traumas, particularly surrounding relationships, offering us opportunities to integrate parts of ourselves we dissociated from or that remained stuck in earlier stages of development. So now with Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter, there is a boomerang yod that includes Venus and Saturn and the moon as well as the sun. So the yod, and we had one before, it was like the planets kind of like forming the shape of a Y. I would have to look it up again to get the exacts because I don't remember exactly, but it was also very powerful degrees of how these things interact. So we've got this boomerang effect with this as well. So Venus and Saturn suggests that issues of relationships, finances, boundaries, and commitment are front and center, and there's a need for emotional and relational adjustment. There may be tension between emotional needs and relationship needs, while patterns of overgiving and people-pleasing may reach a point of no return. We have an opportunity to recalibrate how we relate to others and express what we need and feel honestly. Saturn emphasizes tendencies towards emotional suppression and misplaced guilt, highlighting the need for appropriate boundaries and inviting us to make sure we are taking the responsibilities that are ours to take without carrying what belongs to others. Is placed in his domicile of Aries, and as he separates from Saturn, more vitality, energy, and momentum become available to us. And he's approaching a square to Jupiter in Cancer, which brings feelings of restlessness and a stronger desire to take risks. So this Mars-Jupiter square encourages us to move forward with courage and channel our energy into purposeful action. So this full moon is a good time to release what we have outgrown and what is keeping us small. It's an opportunity to empower ourselves by facing what is uncomfortable and recognizing what keeps repeating and why. We are being asked to alchemize the pain of the past that binds us and develop more emotional resilience, becoming masters of our emotions instead of being enslaved by them. That's kind of what's going on with the planets and with this Scorpio Taurus stuff. So, Aries. What if the real glow up this month is one that no one else sees? For most of May, Taurus energy is activating your inner world, and it's less about doing more and more about seeing more. With Mercury entering Taurus on the 2nd and the Taurus new moon on the 16th, you're getting multiple chances to slow down and actually listen to yourself. Not the loud reactive version, but the quiet intuitive one. This is the kind of clarity that comes when you're not overstimulated. Pay attention to your dreams, your gut feelings, the subtle shifts in your mood. They're telling you something. The opportunity here is to build a relationship with yourself that doesn't rely on constant action to feel valid. Then around the 18th, when your ruler Mars enters Taurus, things get interesting. This isn't your usual go, go, go Mars energy. It's slower, deeper, and way more revealing. You might start noticing dynamics that don't sit right. Subtle tension with certain people, unspoken competition, or even moments where you catch yourself shrinking or overthinking in ways that feel unlike you. This is your cue to look beneath the surface. Not every enemy is external. Sometimes it's tied to parts of yourself that haven't fully owned yet. Where are you dimming your light, and who does that remind you of? This is powerful shadow work, and the more honest you are with yourself, the easier it becomes to cut off what doesn't align without drama, just clarity. Taurus. Can you actually feel it? The difference in your body, your breath, and your pace. This is your season, yes, but more than that, it is your moment of release. For the first time in years, Uranus is no longer sitting in your sign, constantly shaking things up, pushing you out of your comfort zone, forcing change whether you were ready or not. And now you're feeling more space, stillness, and a version of you that's not in survival mode, not bracing for the next shift. So this month, before you rush into what's next, take a moment to really take this in. Celebrate how much you've changed, even if you don't have the words for it yet. With Mercury joining the Sun in your sign and your annual new moon taking place on the 16th, you're being given multiple opportunities to choose yourself again, but this time from a place of deep self-awareness, not reaction. What feels good now? What feels true now? That is your compass. Then around the 18th, as Mars enters your sign for 6 weeks, everything shifts, and suddenly you're the one that people are paying attention to. There's a presence about you, a quiet confidence, they've got something going on energy that draws people in without you having to chase anything. This is what magnetism looks like. Opportunities, connections, even attention can come your way more easily now. But the real question is, what do you do with it? This is where intention matters. Not every opportunity deserves your yes, and not every person deserves your energy. This transit is about embodying your value so fully that what's aligned can't help but find you. Gemini. Be honest. Are you ready for your life to change, or do you just like the idea of it? Because with Uranus now in your sign for the next 8 years and Venus joining for most of the month, things are speeding up in a way that's exciting, liberating, and a little unpredictable. You're more magnetic, more curious, more open to trying new versions of yourself, and people can feel it. There's a glow, a buzz, a main character energy that makes others want to engage with you, collaborate with you, be around you. This is a powerful time to experiment with your identity, your look, your voice, your presence. You're allowed to evolve in real time. But before you fully sprint into this new chapter, Taurus season's asking you to pause, just enough to process what hasn't been fully healed yet. This shift is happening in your solitude sector, which is not always visible, but very real. With Mercury moving through Taurus and the new moon on the 16th activating this space, you're being given repeated chances to sit with your thoughts, your patterns, and your emotional residue. Because if you rush ahead without doing this part, you risk recreating the same cycles in a different form. So take a beat this month, Gemini. Rest, reflect, and let your mind slow down enough to catch what your intuition has been trying to tell you. Cancer. What if the version of success you've been chasing is closer than you think? Taurus season is activating your community and long-term vision sector. And this month begins with you getting clearer about who you actually want around you and what you're building toward. With Mercury in Taurus and the new moon on the 16th, certain friendships, collaborations, or goals may start to feel more aligned, while others quietly fade into the background. You're learning that the right people don't just support your vision, they expand it. Then comes your moment. On the 18th, Venus enters your sign and everything softens in the best way. You're more magnetic, more radiant, more felt, meaning people don't just see you, they experience you. And with Venus harmonizing with Mars in Taurus, there's a beautiful balance between attraction and action. This is a prime time for love, intimacy, and connection that feels both emotionally safe and physically present. If you're dating, lean into vulnerability. Let people see the real you instead of the polished version. If you're in a relationship, this is the powerful time to deepen the bond through quality time, affection, and honest conversations. And even beyond romance, this is about choosing environments where you feel nourished. Leo. What if this phase of your life isn't about being seen yet, but about becoming undeniable? Taurus season's activating your career and public image sector, and this month's asking you to move with intention when it comes to your goals. With Mercury in Taurus and the new moon on the 16th, you're refining what you want to be known for. You may feel the urge to slow down just enough to make sure what you're building actually reflects your values, not just your ambition. This is about legacy energy, what lasts, what feels solid, and what represents you when you're not in the room. Mid-month, as Mars enters Taurus, that focus intensifies, but not in a chaotic way. It's more like a quiet determination that takes over. You're less interested in quick wins and more invested in long-term impact. People may start noticing your consistency, your discipline, your presence, even if you're not announcing every move. You don't need to force recognition right now. You're building something that naturally commands it. Stay focused, stay grounded, and trust that your work is speaking for itself, even in the moments where it feels like it's not. Virgo. May 2026 is the kind of month where your plans start evolving mid-sentence. Taurus season's highlighting your expansion sector, so naturally you're thinking bigger. Travel, study, new environments, and different ways of living that don't feel so predictable. But with your ruler Mercury moving through Taurus and the Taurus new moon striking on the 16th, there's also this grounding influence. It's like, okay, but how does this actually work in real life? You're not just dreaming about change, you're trying to build it in a way that holds up. And that tension between wanting more and needing it to make sense is the sweet spot this month. Let yourself explore without rushing to finalize the outcome. Mid-month, when Mars enters Taurus, something clicks into place around your direction. Decisions start to feel less theoretical and more embodied. You may find yourself committing to a path, a trip, a course of study, or even just a mindset shift that changes how you approach everything. There's also less tolerance for distractions that don't contribute to where you're headed. You're noticing what's worth your energy and what's just noise. And your ability to filter that is extremely strong right now. Libra. May 2026 has a way of pulling you deeper, not in a heavy way, but in a let's stop skimming the surface kind of way. Taurus season's activating your intimacy and shared resources sector. So your attention naturally goes to what's being exchanged emotionally, financially, and energetically. With Mercury entering Taurus and the Taurus new moon taking place on the 16th, there's a steady unfolding of truth around what you're investing in and whether it actually feels mutual. You're noticing patterns more clearly, especially the subtle ones like who shows up consistently and who doesn't, and how that affects your sense of security. Around the 18th, when Mars enters Taurus, that awareness turns into action. You'll feel called to make deliberate choices about where your energy goes. You might tighten boundaries, have conversations you've been circling around, or simply stop giving access in the same way you used to. There's also a practical side to this. Your finances, shared expenses, long-term investments. All of it becomes something you want to handle with more intention. And the interesting part is, the more honest you are about your limits, the easier it becomes to deepen the connections that are actually aligned. Scorpio. May 2026 reads like a relationship check-in you didn't schedule but actually needed. Taurus season is activating your partnership sector, so everything feels mirrored back. Your habits in love, your patterns in commitment, and your expectations versus reality. With Mercury spending most of the month in Taurus and the Taurus new moon occurring on the 16th, there's a slow, almost undeniable clarity around who you're dealing with and how you're showing up in return. It's not loud or chaotic. It's just consistent enough that you can't ignore it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Around the 18th, Mars, your planetary ruler, also moves into Taurus, which means your relationships aren't just something you're observing anymore. There's something you're actively engaging with. There's more friction, more chemistry, more, okay, so what are we doing energy. You might feel pulled to define or deepen a connection, or in some cases, step back from one that doesn't feel as solid as it should. The key here is not to turn everything into a power struggle. You already know how to read between the lines, and now it's about responding in a way that actually supports what you want long term. Sagittarius. May 2026 is where your life starts asking for structure, and you're surprisingly okay with it. Taurus season activates your work, wellness, and daily routine zone. So the focus shifts to the small things that actually run your life. Not the big vision, you'll get back to that, but the habits, the schedule, the way your energy is managed day to day. With Mercury spending time in Taurus and the Taurus new moon taking place on the 16th, there's a steady opportunity to reset how you move through your days, what's sustainable, what actually makes you feel better, not just busier. You're noticing that when your foundation is solid, everything else flows a lot easier. Around the 18th, when Mars enters Taurus, your routines stop being theoretical and start becoming real. There's more discipline available, but also less patience for anything that wastes your time. You might tighten your schedule, commit to a health goal, or simply decide you're done operating in chaos. This transit is about respecting your energy enough to use it well. And yes, it might feel a little repetitive at times, but there's something satisfying about knowing you can rely on yourself in this. Yes, no Sag. Capricorn. May 2026 feels like you're remembering that you actually enjoy your life, not just manage it. Taurus season activates your creativity, joy, and romance zone. And there's something refreshing about letting yourself lean into what feels good without overanalyzing it. With Mercury in Taurus and the Taurus new moon taking place on the 16th, you're being invited to reconnect with your desires in a more tangible way. Not just, one day I'll do this, but why not now? Creative projects, dating, self-expression, all of it feels more accessible when you stop treating it like a reward and start treating it like a consistent part of your life that you deserve to indulge in. Around the 18th, when Mars enters Taurus, that energy intensifies in a way that feels surprisingly natural for you. There's more confidence in going after what you want, not in a loud or performative way, but in a steady, I know what I like kind of way. You might notice yourself being more direct in romance, more committed to your creative work, or simply less willing to deny yourself pleasure out of habit. It's giving, I've done enough work, I can enjoy this now. And that shift in mindset changes everything. Aquarius. May 2026 feels like a return to your center, but not in a boring, stay home and do nothing way. Taurus season's activating your home, family, and emotional foundation, and there's something grounding about tending to your space, your routines, and your inner world. With Mercury now in Taurus and the Taurus new moon taking place on the 16th, you're getting clearer about what actually supports you, where you feel safe, where you don't, and what needs to shift behind the scenes for everything else to work. It's less about external validation right now and more about building something that feels solid when no one's watching. Around the 18th, when Mars enters Taurus, that internal focus becomes more active. You might start making tangible changes around reorganizing your space, setting boundaries with family, or finally addressing something you've been putting off emotionally. There's less patience for environments that feel draining or misaligned, and you're more willing to do something about it instead of just thinking about it. This is about creating a foundation that actually matches the life you're trying to build. And Pisces. May 2026 feels like your thoughts finally catching up to your intuition, and then asking you to actually do something with it. Taurus season activates your communication and local environment, making your mind more focused and your words more intentional, and your day-to-day interactions more meaningful. With Mercury now in Taurus and the Taurus new moon dominating the skies on the 16th, there's a steady unfolding of ideas that feels worth committing to, like something you can truly build on. You might find yourself writing more or finally putting language to something that you've been feeling for a while. It's giving, okay, now this makes sense vibes. Around the 18th, when Mars enters Taurus, that clarity turns into action. Conversations you've been postponing start happening, and decisions that felt vague become more direct. You're less in your head about what you want to say and more willing to just say it, which for you is a shift. There's also momentum in your immediate environment. Short trips, meetings, collaborations, things that keep you moving and engaged. The key is to stay grounded in your message so you don't scatter your energy across too many directions at once. That brings us to our meditation. All right, so the intention of today's meditation is to help you release all those things that you desperately want to control right now. And I think this very appropriate given that Taurus does not want to let go of things. Taurus likes to be in control, and Taurus does not like change. And Scorpio wants to allow us to have that transformation. So that's the intention of today's meditation, is to help us release things that we want to control and that we should let go of. So let's begin. Make sure you're sitting comfortably and bring your attention to your breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Just recognizing the cool air as it comes in and the warm air as it goes out. And let each breath expand just a little bit more. Inhaling just a little longer and exhaling just a little bit more. Now, go ahead and take one big, deep breath in. allowing the in-breath to come into your lungs and expand your belly. And when you can't breathe in anymore, go ahead and release on an exhale, letting all that air out. Bring your breathing back to its normal rhythm. Let your body relax just a bit deeper into its position as you sink further into relaxation. Now, I want you to imagine for a second that you're standing outside of yourself, looking at the position you're in right now, just observing yourself. Notice how relaxed you look. Now I want you to imagine in your mind that you see yourself raise your hand in front of you, reaching your hand out as if you're holding something in it. Now I want you to think about anything that might be happening in your life right now that you're trying to control, that you're trying to manage, that you're trying to make perfect, and you feel the struggle. You feel the pain and tension of that control. I want you to see each of these things as if they're little marbles that get placed in your hand, one by one, being placed in your hand. Maybe it's your schedule and the regulation of your time. Maybe it's the general happenings in the world right now that you wish were not there. Maybe it's someone's behavior or attitude that you're trying to change. Maybe it's work, the amount of work you get done, the amount of money coming in, whatever those things are. Just identify them. Identify each one as a little marble and watch it get placed into your outstretched hand. Now, I want you to notice that your natural tendency is to close your hand around these marbles, to try to hold on to them, to prevent them from falling, so that you can feel secure in that they are safe. I want you to see yourself squeezing these marbles in your hand and feel the tension and maybe even the pain you might be experiencing in your hand, in your fist, your arm, even in your body because of it. And now I want you to go ahead and take 3 deep breaths in and then release them. Take your first breath. Release it. Breathe in love, compassion, and grace for yourself. And on every breath out, I want you to watch as your hand opens up. Just unclench it. Okay. Breathe in love, and feeling it comes into your body as it expands. As you breathe out, let some of those marbles fall from your hand. Release all those things that you're trying to control. Take another deep breath in, breathing in compassion and letting it fill you up inside as you breathe into this release. On your exhale, releasing the tension in your hand, releasing your grip. One last deep breath in, breathing in grace and understanding for yourself. As you exhale, feel all the remaining tension in your hand and all of those marbles release. And see that as your hand is now empty and it comes back to normal, place it naturally next to you. I want you to notice how much lighter you feel in this moment. I want you to notice how much your heartbeat has slowed down and how much your breathing has slowed down. Just be in the moment. This moment. It is all that exists right now. You are here, and you are doing the best job that you possibly can right now. So full of love, full of kindness, and full of compassion. Surrender to the moment. Surrender to what is. Take a deep breath in, filling your belly with air, letting that oxygen fill you up and cleanse you. And exhale, relaxing even deeper into your position. And just notice the soft warmth in the center of you. This is your true self, your light, your inner voice that exists beyond all fears, beyond all circumstances. Strong, resilient, creative. Feel this inside of you and notice how peaceful it feels to be here. Allow this feeling to guide you as you continue to navigate your days and your weeks ahead. It will never steer you wrong. You have everything inside of you that you could possibly need right now. Take a moment and notice the warmth expanding from your center and feel it in your body, in your fingers, your toes, your face. Go ahead and take one last deep breath in, filling up your entire body, letting this inhale expand your light. And on your exhale, relax deeper into the knowing that you are perfect in this moment, just the way you are. And when you are ready, allow yourself to come back Feel the chair you're sitting on. Move your head from side to side. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Open your eyes and come back.